Welcome back to the Social Distance Podcast, a episode that is right in the depths of the off-season of cycling now. So not a lot of cycling to talk about. We talk about the difference between sledging and stadium sports, cricket mainly, compared to sledging and cycling, how boring people are in cycling with sledging. We talk about...
George has issues at the gym with confidence.
Yeah. We talk about my experience of Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the off-season. We talk about George tells us a story about when he nearly won a stage at the Tour of Southland, but ended up with a dirty chamois instead. And we ask you guys for content, and we tell you to buy our merch. Like, share, subscribe. Enjoy the show.
Let's just run the intro and wing it like we always do and see what comes out of it.
Let's get ready to rumble! Front kick.
Just getting bored and dance move chat.
My radar's going pretty hard at the moment. I think we should...
Will you shut up, man?
That escalated quickly.
We're going to need to get some more qualified guests on the show, eh?
This is the Barry White edition. I've come in with a bit of a Barry White voice today, fellas. We've had a week off as well. We had a week breather. You'd think that would bring the health levels back to top form, but Barry White.
I don't think the podcast has been what's bringing your health down. I don't think that's the reason that you've been under the weather. Oh, so much podcasting.
You guys did a live podcast in between, though.
No, we don't talk
we
about
did.
that, though.
Don't sell yourself short.
We did do a live potty. It was actually it was one of those situations where we knew it was
We need
coming.
to relitigate the live potty.
Yeah, people want to hear it, mate.
I watched some of the vision. It wasn't too bad.
Nah, could have been worse.
The worst
Just
part was
squirming.
Bewl's research. Like when he did introductions for guests. Like of all the clip that you sent me, Bewls, I didn't have a lot of time, but I clipped up this little gold nugget when you're trying to introduce Simon Gerrans.
You must all know that Gero's won Milan San Remo. He's won Liège, Bastogne Liège. He's won Tour Down Under, twice? Would have been 3 times he didn't fall off your mountain bike through before he breaks his collarbone.
Yeah, 4 times, mate.
4 times? Jeez.
Yeah, well,
4 times. Oh, jeez.
All right, then, Mr. Fucking 2DU, you know.
No, there was like we always do, like this show as well. we had about 6 weeks notice for this show, and there's a lot going on. George was in Langkawi. I was at a wedding for a day.
Yeah, to organise a bucks.
To organise a bucks party. So, like as you can imagine, we didn't do a lot of preparation, and it was part of this event called the Gerodeo, which was put on by the service course, and we went and did this 80k or 90k gravel ride with a cool group of people. You know, lots of good, interesting people there to interview. Gero, we interviewed Alexei Vermeulen, who's been cleaning up in the gravel scene in the States. Hannah and her sister Alice Barnes. Who else did we interview? We interviewed Impey. We know Daryl Impey. We didn't have to do much research.
Esteban Chavez.
We interviewed one of the guys from...
We interviewed more people than people were watching, put it that way.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah. But
How many people were there?
Like 80? 70 or 80?
Oh, yeah, that's not too bad.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a bizarre feeling. Like we said it in the show, like it's so weird to think that the fact that, you know, we do a podcast and the whole idea of the podcast is to entertain people, but ultimately we want to grow the listener base. Like the more listeners that you get when you have a podcast, the better. But like now I'm sitting in a room all by myself, just talking to you fucking idiots on a screen, and it's okay. But when you're like doing it live in front of 80 people, all of a sudden it's like, shit, there's people actually staring at us. And like George says, we did not have the power of the delete button. And
you needed Jonesy, let's be honest, because I love that shit. I love talking to people.
Fuck, sub me out.
I would have fed off it.
I enjoyed it. I'll do it again.
George looks traumatized. He's like, you know, like touching your face is like the first sign it's bringing back. Like,
it's giving me like this. I just thinking back. I just like to delete things from my memory, right? Like, so anything that's bad happens, or anything I didn't like, I just delete and never revisit it. It's like when you've had a night out, people go, "Oh, look at this video from you last night," and you go, "Don't ever show me that again." Don't do what you want with that video, but as long as I never see it. It's just like ignoring. You just got to. Because if you look back at yourself or revisit those memories and when you're uncomfortable, you just go, oh my God, just want to, you know, like when you just like, you just have those like random moments. You just want to yell when you just like revisit something like 2 a.m. You're lying in bed. It's like, ah!
You're talking like it was an absolute train wreck. Like from what I could see and what I skimmed through, like people were having a laugh. Like it was fine.
Look, the reality is that the point I was getting to is that we had 6 weeks to prepare for it, and we didn't. We just simply didn't prepare for it. And we got to the pub, we got to Dos Kiwis at the end of the ride, and we had about an hour and a half until we were doing our show. And at that point, George and I thought, should we prepare for this? And we, amongst having conversations with other people and being social, we prepared for the show. So as you can imagine, you know, it was all right. I enjoyed it. I won't say it was my best work, but I enjoyed it. And, you know, it was clear that the preparation at certain points is important.
Well, on the flip side, you had your retirement party, Bewls, and how'd the video go down, George? There's a tribute video, but then we spliced in some of Bewley's old cooking videos.
Oh yeah, it was good. So the bloody full house at a retirement party, and Bewls thought finally we're gonna do something nice for him, like a nice you know. So he run videos from people all throughout his career. And 2 things I took away from this is, one, how terrible people are with admin. Like 6 weeks ago, I was like, guys, send me some videos. So I get like 3 days ago, I get a bunch of videos. Everyone sent them in finally. And then on the morning of the event, I get like another 8 videos. And I'm like, final cut, mate. You guys didn't make it. Anyway, when Bewley thought we were going to play him something nice, like a tribute video from people throughout his track career, his family, people back in Rotorua, and you just punished him with making him relive his lockdown cooking videos.
So you're an asshole because 2 minutes
That's
ago,
a nice moment, and we ruined it.
Yeah, actually, it was. I loved it. It made me cry, actually. But 2 minutes ago, you just said, I hate relitigating things that I've done. You know, I don't want to relitigate the past.
Done.
But you have no problem throwing your mate straight in front of the oncoming train.
Making you relive the lockdown period with those cooking videos, yeah.
The TGV was coming down from Figueres at 140k an hour, and Bewls was just standing on the platform, and I just gave him a little kick in the ass straight under the train.
But first you threw my foot on the train. My foot just hit the train, then you pulled me back and nah, just joking, and showed me a nice video. Then you chucked my arm into it, and then you're like, nah, just joking. Here's a nice video. It was nice. It was a good party. I don't know if we.
Was I there?
You were there, yeah. You were in and out. It was a good layer up actually. I was reluctant to do a retirement party for quite a while, and I don't know why. I think just I felt at the time it kind of passed. I was like, fuck it, you know, let's just move on now. But then I was convinced into having a party, and it was fucking good. It was a good night, great night, hosted by the crew at horse category in Girona.
It was a shame you did it the night after I left, though. But you had to make the call. Do I want to do it for George because George gets back, or James is leaving?
So I arrived. I left the day. Was it? I was in the airport at the same time as you. As you were leaving, I was arriving.
Yeah.
That was a traumatizing trip. 2.5 weeks away from home in October. Don't recommend that.
No.
Especially to Langkawi.
Good ride, though. You finished 4th, mate. Top 5.
Yeah, I mean, you always just take one number more. You know, if you get 14th, you got top 15, mate.
Top 15.
Yeah. Top 11.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a big few weeks. We're kind of at that sticky point now, with the potty, where it's like the season's over, and ultimately we're a cycling podcast in some way, shape, or form. So it's difficult to there's no cycling to talk about.
Do you know what season it is? Do you know what season it's merged into? It's merged into gym season. That's for me, that's where I'm at the moment. Not riding bikes, we're just going to the gym. And I tell you what, I think the worst humans in the world live at the gym in Girona. The worst humans in the world. You've got this bizarre mix of a few random Instagram models, and then just absolute creatures just screaming and grunting and flexing. And so for me, going in there, the first few times, I'm struggling to even get to the door. I'm walking in there and I'm just going, there's like, you know, the guys with the stringlets and they're all wearing like, they're almost wearing like hot girl yoga pants and stringlets. And I'm walking in there and
What's a stringlet?
Like the thin
you know, like a
singlet.
singlet
Oh yeah.
with no arms. What we would call, oh God, it's probably, does anyone else call this a wife beater? That's just an,
Yeah, the
I
blue
think-
ones in Australia, they call them like
Oh,
the
white
shearers.
ones.
oh, that's a
Blue.
flannel one.
Yeah, no, the blue chesty bonds, they call them wife beaters in Australia.
Oh, so in New Zealand, it's the white chesty ones, but here the stringlet is the equivalent.
Yeah, right.
So I'm walking in with these guys, and like I'm having some major body dysmorphia issues. I'm walking in weighing like these guys. They look like
You got the biggest
those
attitude in the
cows?
room, though. You got the biggest ego
Wow.
in the room.
no. See, it took me a
Well,
while.
you
Like,
don't
I'm
even
getting
have
in there.
that. Jeez, it's changed,
No.
hasn't it?
Off
I'm
season.
going in there,
Gone.
and I've got it like my forearm is the same size as my bicep. Like there's literally no change between where I put a watch and where my cycling shirt, like the sleeve diameter, is exactly the same size as what I make a watch. Like it's just one tube, just a bone from shoulder to wrist.
So you got room to move then, George. There's plenty of room to get some sort of
Well,
bump.
I'm just so self-conscious when I walk in there. So I put in the like squats. Fuck me. So I'm setting up the squat rack, right? And I'm putting the bar on, and I'm just like try and find one that's already got a bar across it, you know. So I'm like, oh, can I pick the bar up? And then I'm like, fuck, I've got to put a couple of 20s on here. And to pick the 20 up off the ground and put it on each end of the thing, you know. I'm like struggling this up, and everyone's just giving me these little smirks, like it's a lot of weight for a small guy, mate. And I've only got like 40 kilos on there or something, you know. But the problem was the other day is like, you know, the hip thrust one where you put it over your like your hips, and you load it, and you're lying on your back on the ground, and you thrust upwards. I was on there the other day, and I was like, oh, this is actually one I'm right at, you know. Like everything else I'm just humiliated by. Everything's a humiliator for me in there, because guys are like quadrupling my weights and stuff, and I'm just gonna, and even the hot yoga girls are doing more weights than me. So I'm loading up this one just a little bit, like, oh, because I haven't been for so long. So I think I'm pretty good at this one. I think I normally put about like, you know, 140, 160 on here. So I'm loading the shit out of this thing. Haven't done it for a year. Can't remember what weights I used to do, but I remember being like, I think I'm all right at this. Put it in, crawl under it, try to lift it, and realize I'm just absolutely pinned. Like, can't get up. I'm like, fuck.
I remember
Oh,
2005, me and my mates were planning on going on a Kentucky tour. So we're like, right, 6 months out, let's go to the gym, let's get a membership, and let's be like all the other Aussie bogans and just get tanked, like ripped.
Hot boy summer.
Oh, yeah. So we went to like a gym around here in Caulfield, and part of the sign up is you got a free PT session, you know, and I'm thinking, oh, fuck, personal trainer, they're all wankers. Anyway, this bloke comes up, and no shit, he would have been 30 kilos overweight. He was a personal trainer. And I'm like, hang on, how does that work? And I remember, like, he put me at one point, like, we did all the weight stuff, and he was showing me how to do it and that. And he was struggling. And then we had to go on the treadmill, and he was, like, doing, like, max efforts and that. And at one point I said, mate, turn it down. And he's like, mate, don't take any shortcuts or something like that. I'm thinking, you fucking do it. Like,
Yeah.
what do you? And it's like, and that's what I never understood. Like, remember, like there was in Australia, there was like a swim coach who coached like the national team, and this guy was morbidly obese. Like he was 200 kegs, like working in high professional sports environment. I was like, how does that work? At some point, wouldn't the athlete go, well, you fucking do it?
Well, you look at like All Blacks coaches over the years. I mean, Foster, he's got a rig. Also, you remember who's the guy that looked like Jabba the Hutt, cycling trainer? And I can't remember who he was, but he's a very famous guy, Italian guy.
Oh,
And
yeah. Old school director.
Looks like Jabba the Hutt, exactly like him. You know, and at some point he's like, guys, it's not cold. And you're like, of course it's not cold for you, fucking, you gotta look like an Eskimo. You know?
I had the opposite of, in fact, I've experienced the opposite effect in off-season training. I did a couple of years ago. I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I was
Oh, righto.
no, I
Jackie
did.
Chan.
I was like, I want to do like a martial art, like I want to. It's good for like mental stuff as
Where,
well.
in
you know,
Girona or New Zealand?
Yeah, in Girona, I did it. Me and a mate of ours, and I
When you say you did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this isn't one of those like dance classes at the gym, is
Like
it?
rumba.
no,
Yeah.
it's a martial art, mate. You get a belt. I had a
Okay.
white belt and everything. I had a gi. They call it a gi, like the full setup. I should have worn it for the show. And it's like, so me and Andy, we were like, oh, let's do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like for 6 weeks or 2 months or something. So we're going a few times a week, but we didn't want to join a class because I was a professional cyclist and he was the team osteopath at the time. So we kind of were trying to combine it into cycling and obviously trying to avoid getting injured. So we were like, let's just do a personal class. So we would sign up for this personal class, and the instructor, her name was Carmen. She was like, honestly, man, she would have been like 50 kgs. She was tiny, and like me and Andy are both like 80 kgs plus at the time. And we're like going to this jiu-jitsu class, and she would like be showing us these techniques, and I'll be trying to like flip Andy over or whatever, and then she'd be like, "Nah, just like this," and just be like, "Boof," and just like pin us, like fuck, like she was so small. And then we like did like every lesson was an hour long, and we learned like 2 or 3 different techniques, jiu-jitsu techniques. And for those who don't know Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's all on the ground, so you're never on your feet. You always start on the ground, and you're not allowed to go to your feet, so it's all like kind of wrestling on the ground. And after about 4 weeks, she taught us the chokehold. And then at the end of every session, we do a 5-minute bout, which is 5 minutes is hard, man, when you're not very efficient at jiu-jitsu techniques. And we just got to the point where we'd learned like 12 different techniques, but this particular day we learned the chokehold, and we're having these 5-minute bouts, and we were just, no matter what position we're in, we're just trying to choke each other out. And she's just like, use the other techniques. Like, Andy'd be on top of me, and I'd just be like trying to choke him, and we'd just try to choke each other out for like an hour.
I did karate in Sale, and it was run by this absolute nutter who I think worked at the prison. And we only lasted 1 lesson because he thought we were all soft and we didn't have discipline. And I remember he said, like, whenever I go to a pub, I always I never sit in or stand in the middle. I've always got my back to the wall because you never know who's going to come from behind. We're like, okay, this guy's clearly a nutter. So we were just disinterested. And then one of my mates, Powley, who's like a big unit, he's going, look at you, mate. Like, you should be able to fucking hold your own. And he put him in the middle. And, like what you were saying with the instructors, they love getting their bloody hands dirty. Like, he goes, give us your defense. And he shapes up. This guy just jumps up, does like a fly kick and like creams him in the guts. Like, Powley goes down, thought he cracked a rib. And that was it. He was like, we're done with karate in Sale. Like, fucking over. They just fly kicked him straight to the ribs.
I had a great experience. I did karate my whole life when I was growing up. Got
Did you?
black belt, everything. Yeah.
Black belt.
Yeah, I had a great
Black
experience.
belt?
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'd still get smoked in a fight, but my old man still goes, everything.
Really?
Well, a couple of knee operations in now. I don't know if he's still going, but
So
I did
if someone went to attack you, you could pull on your old karate moves.
Oh no, I go down in a steaming heap of shit, mate.
You get in the pub fight, and you're like, before the pub fight starts, you're like, bow to your sensei, bow to your sensei.
I mean, a long time ago, I'd go. I'm very fight adverse. I go a long way out of my way not to get hit in the face. I just feel like I don't have the skeletal integrity to take a hit in the head.
But surely you've got something. If you're a black belt,
Oh yeah, something.
like what's your best thing that you took out of having a black belt?
Kicking, because you don't let them get close.
Right.
Like, but if I'm wearing tight jeans or something,
No good.
no chance.
The off-season's changed for cyclists, eh? Like, remember, like, not that long ago where the off-season was just about fully resetting, like essentially doing almost nothing. Maybe riding your bike still a little bit. But like now, like modern day sport, modern day cycling at least, is like off-seasons is like about doing a whole bunch of different cross-training.
It's about like health and stuff. Like our doctor said to us, like, I want everybody running because of bone density and stuff like that.
Yeah, like running was never ever a thing. Now it's huge in cycling. Like people run throughout the season, and like definitely in the off season, I think almost every single bike rider runs. They all go to the gym. They all do hiking. I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We play a lot of cricket, bit of warball.
Yeah. Speaking of cricket, the T20 World Cup, I'm watching obviously non-stop. That looks like Aussie England might lose Sri Lanka right now.
I know, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that'll be Aussie's last saving grace. But one thing I thought was hilarious when watching is like how switched on the cricket. We talked about like cricket stages before, like on the field, like the keeper, Ben, cheeky, all the stuff. But how switched on cricket fans are. And was like, I was just thinking about a couple of great things I remember. One was I obviously wasn't alive when wasn't watching when this happened, but when Hadley toured when the Black Caps toured Australia, and it was a 3-match series, 1-day series. In the first match, Hadley was obviously just knocking everyone over, and then they just start this huge chant, Hadley's a wanker, and the whole stadium is just going up. Whole stadium, Hadley's a wanker. Second test, the second match, they get together and the chant is Hadley's still a wanker, and then the whole thing, Hadley's still a wanker, and I just thought like, even when like this one was pretty low, but was it Sonny Bill Williams that used to had a fling with Warner's wife, and they go to South Africa, and all the South African fans show up with Sonny Bill Williams masks.
Yeah,
and it's just so high level, and I just thought like, that's a bit of a dog one, but like, I just thought of like the cycling equivalent's so shit. Like the cycling fans trolling is just booing. Like Ineos just got booed. It's like, fucking original shot.
But when Froome got like piss thrown on him, that was pretty next level.
See, it's just actually like, it's just like, think like, let's just be assholes. And like, I don't mind if someone wants to abuse me wittily. If like Alpe d'Huez, the whole Alpe d'Huez next year or whenever can get a Bennett's a wanker chant, I'll embrace it. You got to see the funny side of that.
Exactly, like the cricket.
Someone's just booing.
And cricket, like even the players must have a like low key respect for the chants and for the and even like the on field banter and cricket is so high level. Like those guys, it's almost like they do classes for it.
Yeah,
like
they think about it.
They think
clever about it for sure.
Whereas like in cycling, you just go, "Oh, what the fuck are you doing?"
Like we were talking about with golf, there's certain players that we've identified, like Cam Moyer, you can't sledge him because he plays better. There's some cricketers as well. They do research, like psychological research, and they go, "Don't sledge that player because if you do, he'll bat better." But then there's other players that they go, "Nah, mate, go to town because he'll go to water."
Yeah, like sledge Kane Williamson, and he'll knock you for 6. You know what I mean? He's like he's just a fortress, but like. Davey Warner the other day started getting chippy. Bowled next ball.
Oh yeah, but the best is the Irish cricket team because professional sports, everyone looks pretty much like an athlete. Whereas there's an opening batter who's got like a pot gut. He's got a big ginger beard. He looks like that guy off Braveheart. That just holds the axe up and yells out McCulloch. And so he was playing Australia, and I thought, oh, mate, I'm rooting for this guy. Creams a couple of big sixes and then just spoons one. And then, when they go and show the batter after he gets out, it's always that tight shot where he's just sitting there like, pissed off or whatever. This guy's just chowing down on a like full strength Coca-Cola, 600 ml, just like plugging
the full fat.
The full fat. And then like you can see he's like got the Coke reflux, like he's just get the like as soon as he goes out, legend.
Remember when like Warner used to sit in the stands and just smoke darts like for 2 minutes? What a legend.
Yeah. Well, David Boone, they reckon David Boone, Greg blew it room with him once, and he was only young, he was on tour, and it was 3 a.m, and he turns across and he just sees this red dot. He thought it was a UFO, and it was Booney having a dart in bed whilst he was asleep.
Didn't
you imagine that era
didn't
of
Booney do some record like he
52 beers?
Yeah. Sorry, 52 cans of beer from Sydney to London or something, eh?
Yeah, so it was always a thing. It was always
What-
like a record, and the record was 46.
Yeah.
And then they landed. So Booney destroys it, 52. 52 cans of piss from
I interviewed Dean
from
Jones about
Melbourne.
it. Yeah. It's so
Oh, really?
we were doing a podcast 4 or 5 years ago, and I wanted to talk to him about Booney's can drinking record because he was on that tour. And he said that they talked about it before, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to break the record." And all the air hostesses got in on it. And this was the days where it wasn't like, you fly to Dubai, then London. You had to do like 2 stops. So the first stop was like somewhere in Singapore or near India, and then there was another stop just past the UAE, then on to London. There was like 3 legs. And they said the first leg, like the players were drinking with Booney, like as support, but the hosties just kept bringing the cans over. And by the end of the first leg, he smashed like 16 cans. And then in the middle leg is when he really put the hammer down, and he got to, 40 cans. And there was like 4 or 5 cricketers that tried to drink with Booney, and they're spewing in the toilets, and they're like a mess. And then by the time he breaks the record, the last 2 cans, they reckon they had to open Booney's mouth up and just like tip him in to break the record. So then they land, and there's a press conference straight away. And they're like, oh, fuck, like Booney, like he's in no state to talk to anyone. So they just put some dark shades on him and put him in the corner, and like no questions to Booney. And then Merv Hughes, still half cut, says to the media, "Oh, well, we've already made a half century before we've landed." And they go, "What are you talking about?" They go, "It's official. Booney's broken the tinny drinking record. He smashed 52 cans." And Bob Simpson was the coach at the time. Fucking ripped him a new asshole. Like, you guys are an absolute disgrace. Like, you've just landed and you're bragging about smashing 52 cans. But yeah, it's 100% like true story.
It's unreal.
You imagine that. You imagine that team, Merv Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
Just that, the era of that. I mean, it's reminiscent of like Vanderbroek and cycling, Like, I just think like the humans at that time, it was before people realized like how detrimental drinking beers is to athletic performance, or how like, or maybe it was like, I don't know, maybe it was just before money was involved. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a great example for me at the moment is like mountain running. I was just in the final of the World Cup for mountain running because my partner was there in the finals, and they finished the race, 5-day stage race, so 5 days of mountain running every day, and they're all sort of, it's like a famous party, they were at a party at the end of the thing, and I was like talking to them about the state of their sport, and they were at this crazy crossroads where not for years no one's really, it's just been something they do because they love it, and they go out drinking, they all support each other, they all wait at the finish line and have a beer at the end and all this stuff, and it's now at this crazy crossroads where suddenly, since the lockdown, mountain running is really popular, everybody loves it, and there's now money involved in contracts and prize money. It's 300 grand up in this series, and they're going, oof, shit, maybe we shouldn't smash a beer and wait for each other, maybe we should get off the legs and have a massage, and that's what, like if everybody was riding around and cycling for 50 grand, for sure, there's
way
the
more
prestige
fun.
of it and everything.
You wouldn't have as much money, but
It'd be like
more
the old
fun.
stories you hear about the Vuelta. You'd be out on the piss, you'd be out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'd go for a swim after the thing, you'd drink the water out the tap. You know what I mean? But it's just too high stakes, and that's what's happened with cricket.
It'd be real interesting being in Caitlin's shoes, like being like at this tipping point of a sport where it's been like, because like, not to generalize, but I feel like a lot of people that do mountain running are probably like in some ways like introverted people. That's like quite a different sport. It's out of it's out of the eyes of this of the public. And that's kind of how it's why they do it in a lot of ways, because it's it's their time and they're out in the hills by themselves. But then at the same time, it's becoming so popular, and like now, like when Caitlin did that Mont Blanc and stuff, like I was watching it on TV, and in Spain you can watch it on TV quite often. So it is, like you say, it's tipping into this professional era of a sport that's always been an amateur sport, and it'd be interesting to know like what the people on the inside think. Like, I guess Caitlin would be the one to ask about it, but
Well,
like,
I
so,
asked
like,
them. I
it's
sat
good for
down
the
with
sport.
best guy.
It's- What's that?
Oh, sorry. I sat down with the guy that won it all, and we're talking to him about it. And he said, like, we want to go to the Olympics, but we know that when we go to the Olympics, it's going to be the death of the sport as we know it as well.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it is.
And what's crazy, and they know, like, yeah, we want to do this professionally, but we don't want to lose the spirit of the sport. And I was like, well, I don't reckon you can have cake and eat it. You know,
Nah.
if you want to have this the spirit, you have to look you have to change what the spirit is and go, all right, well, if we want to make this a viable thing, the spirit of the sport needs to be, we're going to suffer like fuck and run for 6 hours. And you can do that if you professional or if you've got everybody waiting for you at the finish line giving you high fives, or if you all hate each other and whatever, you know. You just have to look at a different spirit of the sport, because ultimately it's like, have you seen that that documentary, what's the bloody where he lights a cigarette to start the race, and it's this 300k or something, and he just does loops or 100 like this, and you have, like, I can't remember what it was. People
I
listening.
want to watch it though. It sounds like a good
I
start.
don't even
It's
know.
one of the best.
I don't even know what sport it is.
One of the best docos
It's what you're
I've seen.
talking
It's a
about.
running sport, right? I think it's like 3 loops, it's 5 loops, 5 laps, and it's like the hardest ultra marathon, and it's really hard to get invites. You have to send in you have to post in a letter of why you should be accepted, along with $2 and something else weird, like a placemat or something. I can't remember what the hell it was. And then they let like 300 people start this race, and normally, like, maybe one guy finishes every second year or third year or something like this. And to start the race, the guy just lights a ciggy, and that's the start of the race. But like, it's this whole like community thing of people trying to survive the.
Like bringing it back to cycling. It's like the gravel scene at the moment, especially in the States. And like we spoke about it with Alexei Vermeulen in our live podcast, that unfortunately we did try to record, but the recorder didn't work. So we've got some dodgy video footage of it that maybe we could post somewhere, some point, for those asking. We'll see. We're trying to work on it.
The Barclay.
Anyway. Okay.
Yeah. I was just going to say,
yeah.
I Googled it. The hellish 100-mile race with 15 finishes in 36 years.
Fucking hell. But like in the gravel scene, it's like the same thing. Like when the gravel scene started in the States not long ago, it was like the whole idea of it was like this community spirit. Like, it was like there wasn't money up for grabs. It wasn't professional. It was about being different and being alternative, and like, everybody has a beer together at the finish, maybe even at the start. Like, it was kind of the scene. That was kind of the vibe of gravel. But now it's got so big. Firstly, it got big in mass participation. So in the States, you have races that have 3,000-4,000 starters. So now, of course, the corporates come, and now there's massive prize money. There's like a handful of bike riders making really good salaries out of it, and it's the exact same tipping point now of becoming a really professional sport. There's the World Championships now hosted by the UCI. It's becoming a professional sport, but there's still this massive resistance from a lot of the OGs of it, who are saying, like, we don't want it to be that. We want it to be this community. We don't care about the money, rah, rah, rah. But ultimately, human nature, like, once a carrot gets dangled, people are going to chase it. And then all of a sudden, you'll see in a year or two's time, gravel is just going to be like road cycling. It's just going to be a professional sport with people train hard, do all the 1%ers, make their equipment as good as they can. Community spirit's gone. It's like about winning the race.
I would rather have a full professional sport than the high fives. You know what I mean? I get my high fives at home.
Yeah.
So as soon as there's cash, as soon as there's money incentives, that changes everything. Like when you said there's 300 grand up for grabs, as soon as there's big cash, it's over.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I like, ultimately, sport is like chasing the pinnacle, right? We want to be pinnacle. And it's not means that you suddenly have to be an asshole, or you can't have personality, or you can't whatever. You can't be a nice guy. I mean, sometimes we struggle with it, but being professional, being like chasing the pinnacle ultimately is more important than hanging around for a beer after the race.
And you can still do that, like you say. And I agree with you, George. That I think that is the definition of sport. Is like sport covers a whole massive range, massive basis from recreational to professional. And of course, recreational is the bigger base of people who do a sport. Cycling, for example, millions and millions of people ride bikes recreationally. A handful of people race them professionally. But that doesn't mean you still shouldn't have the professional end of it. And like cycling's a funny sport where in a lot of ways it's full of a lot of boring bastards, and the interviews are all the same. And it's sort of changing in some ways. Like I guess that was the whole premise behind the podcast that we're doing, is like we don't want to be fucking boring. We want to show who we are. And like this show, for example, now we're not even hardly spoken about cycling, but that's who we are. It's the off season, you're getting an insight into our lives. But like the trail running, for example, or the gravel, for example, which is at that tipping point now where it's about to turn professional, they're actually in the dream position. Like I would have loved to be in that position when cycling turned professional, because you're going to benefit from the sport, paying your salaries and giving you your income, but they are the trailblazers, and they can define the community and the environment and the personalities how they choose, or the sport how they choose. Like they can always be like surfing is more professional now than it used to be. I'm sure they're not smoking big doobies before they head out into the surf. But
you sound like an 80-year-old woman describing young kids smoking doobies.
Smoking big doobies.
But like they still, even though it's professional, their environment and their sport is defined. It's because it's always been that way. And when surfing turned professional, they carried that culture through. Okay, yeah, they stopped smoking doobies before they went out into the surf, but they still have that relaxed environment, that real like camaraderie. That real like family kind of, we're all friends kind of feel. Like they define that. That's how the sport is. And
yeah, but I think they play up to it. They play up to that for sure. They'll watch something and go, "Oh, that guy's a dick."
No, I think they have punch-ons. Like, mate, that like surfing's a kind of sport where they get in. Like, it's like you and me on the bike. Like, if we're in different teams, okay, maybe not you and I, but like I have people that I'm mates with, or like fringe friendships with, that I'm like, "Fuck, are you doing, man? What the fuck?"
Do they still punch on if people steal their waves, like in Point Break?
Yeah. I think they do in like the recreational side of surfing, definitely.
Yeah,
especially if you're not local.
My uncle moved to Torquay, and that's where in Point Break they go, 50-year storm, Bells Beach, Australia. And he talks it up. He's the uncle at Christmas who did fuck all cleaning up here and come in at the death and put the tea towel in his arm, make it look like he'd done something. And he gets to Torquay, and he's like, "Oh, I want to learn how to surf." And he's like, "Yeah, no, how hard could it be?" So he gets the board, gets the wetty. He reckons like he went out to like the most advanced spot at Bells, and he goes, "Fuck, I almost drowned." Like he said, it was that rough, sucked him out, lost his board, and like was battling to stay alive. There wasn't like flags and stuff. And he said it was horrific. And he said, "Fuck that, I'm never surfing again."
And you don't want to learn. You don't want to learn to surf in a local hotspot. You try to learn to surf in a local hotspot, all you're going to do is sit out there and bob around in the water. You'll never ever get on a wave, because everyone's fighting for waves, and like and it's a real, surfing is like bizarrely territorial. It's crazy. Yeah. It's like a whole pack of dogs has gone out there, cocked their leg, and taken a piss on the waves, and been like, "No one else is allowed out here." And like,
I don't know what his thought process was. Like, no. I'm not even going to start off on the big wide boards and like what we did at that training camp that year. That was fun, and I didn't care if you look like a dick. Like, that's how you start. But he's got the thin, pointy-headed surfboard, like the one that looked cool, and went straight into where professionals get wiped out.
That was my approach at the gym when I got pinned under the weights.
Yeah, that's it.
You just go to the biggest dog and bark at him.
That's it. I've got this fear about sharks lately. Like, I've got a cabin up at Ocean Grove, and I just don't feel comfortable even swimming in the surf at the moment.
Really?
Yeah. Someone got attacked at Ocean Grove, like, I don't know, 8 months ago. Shark literally bit off this person's calf. And I just think, you're not allowed to like kill white pointers and all this sort of stuff, mate. Surely there's heaps out there. I just don't like the thought of like.
There's not heaps out there.
It's their territory as well. Like, you've gone into their environment.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying because there's
'Cause
got to
you
be
wanna go
more
swimming.
breeding. No, but there's more breeding, and they're hungry.
I think
So
in
fuck
South
it.
Africa they do cull them sometimes, like
Do they?
because in South Africa they get. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but I have read this once before that there was like a great white. It was a female great white that like kind of made her home in a very very popular beach, like recreational beach, and so then in the breeding season, all the male white pointers would come there.
She was a real hottie.
Yeah, she was a yoga, I think she's a yoga hottie, and they actually in the end they just had to cull that shark.
Oh, so they killed the female one to get
Yeah.
rid of the dudes.
Honeypot.
Yeah,
Queen bee
Fuck.
gone.
yeah.
I'm with you though, Jonesy. Like, I'm not with you with the killing sharks. I think.
No, I didn't say to
Yeah.
kill them. I said since they haven't killed them.
Oh, you said to
You
cull
said
them.
kill them. You said kill them. You
No, I
said
said cull them. It's different.
you were like you can't kill. I know you can't kill
can't-
white pointers, but why not?
No, I didn't say why not.
What you basically said
I
was
did not
you should
advocate
kill-
killing white pointers. Leave them. But what I'm saying is because they haven't been killing them, there's more of the bastards out there and they're hungry. They're coming for you. So my advice to people over summer, don't fucking swim in the surf. Write it
No,
off.
I'm
Go to
with
the
you.
local pool.
No.
Write it off.
Yeah.
Hell no. That's the whole
You don't
joy of
need
the
it.
surf.
You don't need it.
To the risk. On another note, so we were out with a couple of boys, and one guy was being a wingman, trying to set up one of the younger guys with a group of girls there, and he was doing a good job getting them talking, introducing them, bigging them up, and then at one point he just drops a bombshell story about him, about something he did, and this girl just lost all interest. And we were sitting around the next day talking about it, and I just love the terminology these boys are using. It's just a great example of like where cycling terminology just overflows from the peloton into daily life. And then we were talking to them the next day, and someone was like, "Oh, how'd you go to those girls last night?" And the was like, the one guy was like, "Yeah, I gave you such a good lead out. I had you in the wheel. I dropped you off 200 meters to go." And I was just like, "Oh, this is a great term for for being a wingman. Is giving someone a lead out, dropping them off 200 meters to go." And then the other guy was like, "Yeah, but then you fucking turned right on me. You put me in the barriers."
Oh man, that'll
And
take off.
I just thought like when you just put someone in the barriers in real life, like you've thrown someone on the bus from now on, and it's just like just put them in the barriers.
And
Or when
it's
you're
such
trying
a-
to help someone, like fucking give him a good lead out. Don't know what happened to him.
It's so specific to cyclists as well because no one else would know. Everyone knows the term wingman. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's my wingman. You're like, oh, it's my lead out man. Girls will be like,
Yeah.
lead out man. What the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Now one
I
of
just thought it
the
was
one
so
of the
funny.
other you guys did a potty live Dos Kiwis Brewery. Bewls and I had a crack at doing a potty at Barcelona out the front of
Oh,
what
That
was
was
that?
a
The
train wreck.
Maritz.
Yeah, Jonesy. Just before Jonesy left, I just bought the new bloody recorder thing that failed us at Dos Kiwis had just arrived, and the microphones and things. So we went down to Barcelona and we thought, oh, let's do a live, or not live, but let's record face to face at a pub and see what we come up with. And it hasn't gone to air for a reason, eh?
Well, there was a
Oof.
couple of good little nuggets because we're thinking like we want to bring back some segments like Legend and Bellend or year better than 2020, and we've got one, George. Well, I think this is right up your alley. So this is probably the only usable nugget I reckon, Bewls, from that whole podcast. And this is a segment that we've come up with. So this is called After the Film Ends.
Shawshank Redemption, classic example. You look at how that finished. Red's come over, seen Andy Dufresne. They got away with it. He's sanding the boat down. But there's always a part of my brain going, how's that going to be sustainable? How are those two going to get along? And I'd be thinking then there was these conspiracy theorists that went through the case, Andy Dufresne's case. There's a bit of a smoke and barrel here. I mean, the guy was drunk. We know he had a gun on him. We know there was an ex and he was there. What if 6 months later he just turns to Red and says, mate, I got something to tell you. I fucking did it. And I got away with it. And what are you going to do about it? I've got the taste. So I'm going to do it again. I think there's a possibility.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got an idea of what Red's outcome is, and the more I think about it as the show goes on, I'm not sure if I can say it, but I'm going to. And Like, surely in that moment when Andy Dufresne says to him, "Look, Red, I did it, mate." Like, the whole movie, no one knows what Red did. Do we?
Red do?
Exactly. So I reckon Red's just going to turn around to Andy and just go, "Well, while we're at it, tell you what I did."
And then they just go on this crime spree.
Yeah. Or maybe
Mexico.
Red goes, "Actually, well, I'll tell you now that I'm actually an informant.
Yeah.
I wasn't in jail for 40 years before you turned up. I came in the same day as you, mate, and I'm an informant, and I was here to get that information. But there's ways around. There's ways around this."
and then Andy could say, "Yeah, that young bloke that come in tried to impress me. Take him out.
Yeah.
Take him out. I don't need him like stirring the pot.
Nah.
Because I did it. So chapeau, you got away with it."
So yeah, I think the movies, what happens after the movie, Scarface was the inspiration for that. I think also the fact that
Well, there's no one alive left at Scarface.
you had a similar experience before we watched Scarface, where you'd had a few drinks and you watched Weekend at Bernie's, and you after you had a couple of beers, and for the first half an hour or 40 minutes, you think, "Oh, this movie's awesome! Like what a laugh!"
Yeah.
But then as you start to sober up or start to come down a bit, you're like, "It's actually pretty sick. This dude's dead. He's got a sister. He's got a wife that loves him. He's got whatever."
Now, you think the premise of that Weekend at Bernie's, it should never be made into a film. It's so disrespectful to the family of Bernie to think that they're just throwing this dead guy around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, like he's got family. He's got a sister. Probably, got parents that might still be around that are going, "Where's Bernie?"
Yeah.
And they drag this
Been
film
ragdolled at his own house.
They got another film out of it.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful.
Oh, George seems interested.
Not a fan, George, of that segment?
Nah. No, I like the weekend. Fuck me, if that was the gym, I'd hate to see what the rubbish was.
Oh, mate, it was bad. It was bad.
Jesus, suffered through that, but here we are.
I thought you'd be good at it. I thought you'd come up with some crackers.
No, I liked it. I just haven't seen Shawshank Redemption recently, so I don't know who the fuck Bernie or Red was.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. I thought, like, given it's a cult classic and everyone's seen it, you know what we're talking about. Yeah. But, like, for example, like, a film like Castaway, like, what do you reckon would have happened at the end of Castaway, George, like, when he goes back?
I don't know, but what I was just thinking of recently, just out of the top of my, just what I can't get out of my head and think of anything else, is I met the actual family from the castle. Like, not the actual family, but the equivalent. And like an Australian family recently, and all I could think of was Dale Kerrigan. They were the kid was Dale Kerrigan, and the mum and dad were there, and I just could not stop thinking the castle. So what happens at the end of the castle? Where do you go from there?
I said Castaway. Tom Hanks when he's on the island.
I know, but I'm thinking of Castle now. But Castaway. No, Tom Hanks goes fucking troppo and he's a Columbine shooter. That's what happens.
There's another GB nugget that we'll have to bleep or cut out.
Oh, that's all right, isn't it?
Oh, I think you'll get some comments of people going, "That's a bit off." Oh, well. Run it.
So I reckon, instead of doing the behind the movie or after the movie, we can still do that if people want us to. But we're going to the big thing that needs to be said is that we are in a 3-month racing pause now. Cycling news in general is low at the moment. I'm sure it'll start coming. So we need you guys to feed us content. Either that, or we take a summer break or a winter break, depending on what part of the world you're in. And we come back in the next season.
Tour of Southland was on.
Oh, yeah. First Southland to win it since 1994.
No, an Australian one.
No, Josh Burnett or whatever his name is. I think it's Josh Burnett, isn't it?
Oh. Did it change? It must have changed overnight. I haven't looked this morning. Did he just win today?
He's the first. Yeah, it just finished. Yeah, Josh Burnett. He's the first Southlander since 1994 to win the Tour of Southland, and as we all know, Tour of Southland is the 4th Grand Tour. So big things to come for Josh Burnett. Well done, mate.
Shit, good on him. I just saw that when the Aussie boys was after normally all the hard stages was in front.
Did you ever win Southland?
Didn't even get close. One year I was third, coming into like stage to go, and it was winding and raining, and I'd signed pro, and I looked around and went, "What the fuck?" And just huge crashes, and I was like, "I'm not going to the front of this race. I'm just going to hide at the back here." Lost 25 minutes in the crosswind, and that was my game. That was the best I ever did.
Did you win any stages?
Was that like a bait? Like a little? Was it a little?
What are you leading
Jive
with
for
this,
a story
Sam?
time?
No, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
All right, story time.
Let's go.
So, one time on the way to Tiano, no, what had happened was it was actually on the way to Queenstown, and we finished up the Crown Range.
Oh, I do remember this.
And I don't know if it was a year I had a broken hand or not. I think it might not have been. Anyway, it was me and one guy left, Jeremy Yates, former junior world champion. And we were way in front of everybody. And he stood up to attack me as a motorbike came around the corner and just knocked him off, just knocked him clean off his bike. And I was like, oh, I'm not stopping. I'm not going to wait for him. And I put a bit of pace on. Anyway, he's fucking good. He was good. I'm going to win the stage. But I kind of am half feeling like, oh, I don't know. Like, I've heard about these unwritten rules of cycling, but I've never experienced them. And he's getting closer. And I'm like half going, but not really accelerating. And I half sort of do it. And then I'm half fucking going. He catches me, beats me, crosses the finish line. And like the TV cameras are there. So he like does the whole like hand on the shoulder, like looking like, oh, good job, mate, congratulating me as a young guy. I was like fucking 17 or something, 16 maybe, I don't know. But what he's actually doing, it looks like he's giving me a pat on the thing. He's saying it with a smile, like, good job. But he's fucking grabbing me by the back of the neck, you know, giving me this one, like, full horse bite going, you little fucking asshole, you ever do that again and I'll kill you. And I'm just going like, but he's sort of doing it with a smile, you know. He's like, yeah, you little fucker, I'll fucking knock your head off. And I'm just sitting there like, on the TV camera, you know, like this.
The commentator's going, oh, great moment there.
Oh, yeah, special moment between young and old in New Zealand cycling. You know, I'm just sitting there like this as he's got me right around the neck.
That's so good.
And that was the closest I ever came to winning a stage.
It's a life lesson. He's helping you out for the future. Oh, Jizza. Yeah, maybe.
Well, you never did it again.
Jeremy Yates was, a lot of people probably know him, and maybe he listens to the show, who knows? Probably find out. But he was like, had his troubles, you know, made some bad decisions at some times. But I actually really liked Jeremy. But that guy, he was fucking unbelievably classy, eh? Like he was one of the best.
Classy or strong?
Good rider. He was
strong. Yeah, okay.
He was one of the best. I reckon one of the best bike riders to come from New Zealand that never had a career. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like engine wise, unreal.
Yeah.
But you know.
I like how in the podcast, like it never interrupts.
I won a stage at Southland.
That's what he wanted to get to. Yeah, that's what he wanted to get around to.
Yeah.
I have to bring up a photo. But I like how this podcast never interrupts George's schedule for eating.
Yeah.
Like 1 minute he's eating a bit of ham, then he's like off getting cereal. Like you always hear like clinging of
I got to
bowls,
go training I got to go training and I got to meet my friend in 6 minutes and I haven't got anything ready.
Who are you riding with?
Shane.
Oh, he'll be late.
He don't care.
Nah, just tell him he's 10 minutes late.
Tell him you're busy.
You guys can watch me kid up and we keep talking though.
Well, before we go, Bewls, obviously you've done a great job and I could see it in that video of the live potty pushing people to buy merch. I was thinking, like, I was listening to the radio today. Yeah. And they were talking about the #1 selling candle in the world, 75 US. So that's over 100 Aussie. Is that Gwyneth Paltrow? This smells like my vagina.
What?
And I was, yeah. Have you heard about this? She launched a couple of years ago and it sold. You can't get them. There's like 6 months backlog. And then I was thinking,
but
does that
do you think that she's just actually a genius? Do you think like
yes?
For a while there, she was the whole like sunning your perineum and You know,
Okay.
and I thought, she's absolutely nuts. But what I realized is she's probably just having this fucking laugh, going, look at the, like, I'm actually, like, a candle that smells like my vagina. She's clearly taking the piss. She can't be that insane. She must just be going, these fucking idiots are buying this.
Well, I was thinking, like, does it
And laughing about
transfer over to blokes? Like, what if we released the candle that said smells like GB's nutsack?
Smells like my chamois after 7 hours after Lombardia.
Smells like Bewley's gooch. I reckon they'd fly off the wall.
Smells like a chamois after getting throttled by Jeremy Yates.
Yeah. Why don't we just make our own batch of candles and just come up with shocking tags and just see them fly out the door?
Yeah. Oh, look at that rig. I can
Fucking
see where
sloppy at the moment.
I can see where the self-confidence issue comes from at the gym.
I know.
Oh,
Sloppy
remember that
rig at the moment.
episode in the early days where we called him Skeletor?
You got called a thumb.
That's right. All right,
I like
good
that
show,
how
boys.
it's like, I think we talked about this, how people would be like, it's okay to be like, people be like, man, you're just so skinny.
Speaking of merch, make sure you do go to the merch store. We'll put the link. The link's always in the profile of our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We'll put the link to the merch shop in the description of the show as well. Support us.
And we'll work on some
continue
candle ideas.
to
Give us some
get-
tags and we'll get some candles done.
Yeah.
Coming into
exactly.
winter for Europe.
And if you've got any content for us, we love it this time of year because, like we said, cycling's dried up. Send us any stories, any content, any questions, anything you want. You might want to know.
Any scenarios, any issues that you want us to unpick.
Yeah.
Yeah, send us what
Like,
you want the panel
Club
to
ride,
discuss to
something
solve
happened
any
on Club ride.
problems you
Who's in the
got.
wrong? Yeah, who's in the wrong?
The third
What about stories
umpires.
in the bar? Who put you in the barriers in the bar?
Yeah, you can call us the VAR. Call ourselves the VAR for the next couple of months.
Yep.
The video ref.
Yep. We'll read them out.
Like,
idea.
share, subscribe, everybody. Thanks for listening.